Hello, this is Dr. Arie VandeWaa at the University of South Alabama, where I'm the instructor of trombone, and this is the commentary for the 2019 High School Lyrical Etude. Now first, I'm not sure exactly which aria from Macbeth this is, but I would recommend that you listen to different Verdi arias for appropriate lyrical style. La Donna Mobile from Rigoletto or Celesta Aida from Aida are great options. Make sure that your opening pickup note is a 16th and not a triplet or a 32nd. Don't linger too long in the half notes in the opening measures either, just because it will drag the tempo down. Make sure you follow the printed dynamics as literally as possible and pay attention to the poco a poco crescendo, but don't allow the piece to get too loud too quickly. Follow printed breath marks and try to shape your phrasing around them. On the 16th notes in measures 10 and 11, make sure that your articulation helps to highlight the slurred groups of two notes. A da tongue and a very slightly shortened second note will help create this effect. Similarly, make sure that the two staccato 16ths in measure 11 are a noticeably lighter articulation and are clearly different from your slurred 16ths before and after. I like to stay in 6th position on the C's in measures 14 and 16 so that it is easier to tune the G flat in measure 15 and to reduce slide motion overall. This also allows me to play the low F in 6th rather than on the valve, which should make it more resonant. If you prefer to go in, that's completely fine, but just avoid slide noise as much as possible. I also like to rallentando a little bit in measure 16 before the fermata, but don't go overboard. Generally, you should make sure that your time is perfectly even throughout, without a lot of push and pull. Fermatas over rests are meant to be taken seriously, so don't just skip it or play it in time just because it isn't a note. Let the music rest and breathe for just a second before the 16th notes into measure 17. Make sure that you catch the subito piano on beat 4 in measure 17. While a slight diminuendo could be appropriate, because it is not printed, it's better to follow the page as literally as possible. Make sure you stay out of the way dynamically until the crescendo in measure 18. Try to make a difference between all three of the repeated Ds in measures 21 and 22. The first two are accented, but putting a crescendo through them will make a far more exciting and ultimately more lyrical performance. Be careful, though, that you don't accent the final D in measure 22, instead favoring a forte but legato tongue that's full-sounding but not forceful. Much like the beginning, make sure that your 16th notes are not too fast or too slow in measures 22 through 25. Also, pace yourself on the crescendo starting in measure 25, and instead of doing it exactly as printed, stretch it all the way through measure 27. This will help make the whole note D much more interesting to listen to, and will actually also help prevent you from rushing through it. The whole note D is also a great chance to add jaw vibrato, so make sure that your vibrato is not coming from your airstream, but rather from a yaw motion in the jaw. Try to make sure that the vibrato matches the tempo, and this will also help you keep from rushing through the whole note. Don't clip the descending quarter notes. Accented doesn't mean staccato. And lastly, group the slurred and articulated notes clearly in the last measure. Put a little bit of extra emphasis on the downbeats and create a small amount of separation on the non-slurred notes.